I've chosen Peaceful Soul as my title, as I feel like that kind of best reflects my personality and the essence of who I am. The three images I chose, I feel like they express my more calming personality. This past year, I started to develop a real affinity and love for pottery and gardening, and I tend to prefer more low key activities like reading or drinking a cup of coffee in bed rather than more outgoing activities. The two words I chose to best describe me are peaceful and nurturing, as I've always been told that I tend to be very calming, nurturing, and peaceful to be around. When I was in my 20s, I had taken a break from school after studying law. I found myself really struggling with whether or not this is what I was supposed to do. I had been told that I could be too soft and often too sensitive, and had even been given the nickname Disney Princess by a few of my law professors. After returning to my hometown, I took a job at the local school and found that my more sensitive and nurturing personality, while a weakness in law, had become a strength and unique gift working with children. Ever since I was little, I had a massive fear of public speaking and really anything to do with engaging with people in a public way. This past year, I specifically had to engage and conquer this fear as I took on the job as a youth director at my church. While I've seen a lot of gains, there is a constant struggle with my more timid nature. I tend to struggle regularly with ambition and zealousness. I spent well over the last 3 years feeling a desire to move to ministry, but always terrified to make that leap. This past year in particular, I've seen myself have to engage and work on my two greatest weaknesses, which is why I have chosen timidness and laziness as my two words. The two words that were chosen for me from a family member were compassionate and empathetic. My sister-in-law said she chose compassionate because I'm always loving with other people, and that there have been very few times in the 13 years that she knew me that she's seen me be really angry. She chose empathetic and said that I'm always putting other people first and that I always try to look at things from other people's perspective. my One of the friends I chose hardworking and loyal. She had been a former coworker of mine and a friend for the past 4 years. She described me as hardworking and said that in the past 4 years that we worked together, I always had her back and was always there to help her in every way that I can. She described me as loyal, pointing out that despite the fact that last year I'd gotten a job as youth director at my church, I stayed working with her so she wouldn't have to run the classroom we are in alone. There was one word I feel like God would use to describe me, it would be fragile. While not necessarily the most positive word that one might think of, it is the one that best fits, in my opinion, for how God sees me. Scripture states that our weaknesses often glorify God, which we read in 2 Corinthians 12:10. I've always had a bit of fragility with me. I see this as both my weakness when it comes to my timidness and my strength when it comes to my more nurturing nature. If there are two things I would like to see my weakness become a strength in, it would be confidence and eagerness. I feel like the best way to battle my timidity and laziness is by actively seeking situations and opportunities that really force me to engage with those around me. I feel like by putting myself in situations in which I am forced to really become confident and by taking on tasks that force me to really become ambitious and eager. Only then can I think I can combat my weakness of being too timid and often lazy or idle.